standing here with the Lamborghini Urus S, and today I'm going to show you guys all of its cool facts and features. I'm going to take it for a test drive, and then I'm going to give my final thoughts and opinions on this car. And before we get into it, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of these types of videos. And without further ado, let's get to it. So the Urus was first introduced in 2018, and it shocked the entire world. It was the first car that really came out with a super SUV. Ferrari, McLaren, and all the other supercar brands didn't really have an SUV that they could call a super SUV. And the Urus quickly became Lamborghini's best-selling car, and as of 2023, over 60% of Lamborghini's sales came from this model alone. So just a general overview of the Urus S, this car starts at $241,000. I know it's a pretty crazy price for an SUV, but I'm telling you guys, it is definitely worth it. And up front here, we got a twin-turbo V8 that makes 657 horsepower, 627 pound-feet of torque, and it goes 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. Now, the power plant itself is actually derived from the Audi Q8, which a lot of people kind of give Lamborghini crap for. But I'm telling you guys, this engine is really cool. It sounds amazing. I'm going to show you later in the video what this car sounds like. But definitely don't look past the Urus just because it shares an engine with the Audi Q8, guys. The Huracan shared an engine with the R8, and obviously no one complained about the Huracan. Now, moving on to just the general front end design of this car, it is so Lamborghini. There's a lot of edges and sharpness and hexagons and vents and all sorts of things that you wouldn't even think are possible on an SUV. But Lamborghini has somehow made the front end of this car just look so aggressive. And that's one of the reasons why almost everybody loves the Urus, because of the way it looks. Now, not only do all the things on the front end look cool, but they're also super functional. These vents right here lead directly into the engine bay, which obviously help with cooling for the car. These vents on the front end go right through up into the engine, into the intakes and all the radiators and all the sort of stuff. You can literally see right through the front end right here. Now, in a lot of other cars, they have a lot of vents and things that look cool, but they're not necessarily functional. On my Toyota Supra review, I mentioned how a lot of things on the Supra actually don't even help with cooling or anything. It's literally just plastic. But the Lamborghini actually has functional vents all around the front end, which is really cool on an SUV. And also, just to add another cool thing on the front end, is this hood is actually a full carbon fiber hood. If you lift it up, you'll see on the inside that the entire hood is made of carbon fiber, which is obviously made to help reduce weight savings and just add a more sporty look and design to the car. So moving on to the side here, we have a really sporty design that looks awesome on the car. Right here, we have this vent right here that has a bunch of little hexagons inside. Once again, Lamborghini is really big on the hexagonal shape, and you can kind of see the small details right here, along with the Italian flag that I think looks really cool. And then moving along the side here, you just have these nice lines that flow really well with the car, but they're still sharp, they're still edgy. They're not super round like maybe Ferraris would usually be. A Lamborghini, it's really all about being as edgy and as sharp as possible on the side. Now, as we make our way to the rear end of the side, you have this really cool Urus S logo badging right here, which is awesome. You also get these really wide fender flares that kind of just give a more wide body look to the car overall. And then we have the wheels, guys. These are 23-inch wheels in the front and the rear, which is awesome, but you can also get 21 or 22-inch wheels if you would like. And then inside the wheels, as you guys can see, these are absolutely massive rotors and calipers. On the rear, you have 370 millimeter rotors. On the front, you have 440 millimeter rotors, which is absolutely crazy. And what's even crazier is on the front, you get these 10-cylinder calipers, which is just insane to think on an SUV. But Lamborghini claims that this car has the best stopping power out of any SUV in its segment. Now, moving on to the back end, this is by far my favorite part of the exterior. Just look at it. It looks so wide, so mean, so aggressive. It doesn't even look like this should be an SUV, but it is. Now, I don't even know where to start, but I'm just gonna go from top to bottom. Right here, we have this nice little spoiler. Usually you don't see spoilers on SUVs, but it is a Lamborghini, so it's gotta have one. Underneath that, you get the Lamborghini logo right here. You also get these really cool taillights that look nice and sleek and thin. You also just get a bunch of sharpness and edges and all sorts of Lamborghini-ness on the rear end. As you get into the diffuser, it just looks really cool. You get some hexagons right here. Once again, Lamborghini keeping the hexagonal theme on it. Now, my favorite part of the rear end is actually these little vents on the side right here. Unfortunately, they are not functional. They actually just kind of lead to nothing, but I don't really care because they just look so cool and so sporty. And then moving on to the exhaust right here, you have two exhaust options. You have the standard exhaust. You also have the racing exhaust, which this car has, and it sounds amazing. Listen. Now moving on to the interior now, I'm just going to start with the general overview. This interior is absolutely beautiful. It is Italy and Germany combined in all of the best ways. You get the flash of Lamborghini that you typically expect. You get lots of hexagonal shapes and sharp images, and you get this kind of fighter jet cockpit style gear levers and drive mode selectors, but you also feel very robust in here. Nothing feels like it's soft or it's falling apart. It's just like Lamborghini combined all the best of Audi and all the best of Lamborghini, and they put it into one SUV. Now the seats I'm sitting in right here are the perforated leather. You can also get Alcantara if you want, but I would say these seats are super comfortable, and they also look really sporty. You get this nice little Urus badging, and you get the Lamborghini logo on the headrest, which is really cool. Now moving on to the center console right here, this is honestly the coolest center console I've ever seen in an SUV. Right here where the drive mode and gear selector's at, it literally looks exactly like an airplane. You get these little gear levers on both sides. And you also get this kind of weird thing in the center. Now this actually doesn't even put you into drive. I'll tell you guys how to get in drive in a second, but all this does is actually put you into reverse. If you want to park, you have to push the P button right here. If you want to put yourself in manual mode, you press the M button. And if you want to start the car, just like you would see in a fighter jet, you flip up this red lever right here and you push the start and stop button. Now the cup holder area is really cool because Lamborghini has maintained the hexagonal shapes in both of the cup holders, and also on the parking brake side, they've also kind of put it into a hexagonal shape as well. And as you'll see it throughout the whole entire interior and the exterior, there's a big hexagonal theme here. Now onto the infotainment. I actually really like the infotainment on this Lamborghini for a couple of reasons. So you basically control your climate on this first infotainment screen that's a little bit more flat. Now the thing that's cool about this is it's not just touchscreen, it's touchscreen and it's haptic feedback. So if you want to raise or lower your AC pressure, you can actually click it and you can not just feel the click, but you actually hear an audible click, which is really nice. And it's kind of a small attention to detail that Lamborghini has figured out that a lot of customers don't necessarily love a full touchscreen. They want to feel that kind of feedback that you would get from traditional buttons. So what's the best kind of compromise? Well, that's to have a haptic feedback that actually gives you an audible click. Now, my favorite setting in the infotainment screen is if you go into vehicle info, you will see the setting called the inclinometer. Now, the inclinometer is basically showing you how tilted your car is vertically or horizontally. It also shows you what altitude you're at and what direction you're pointing, as if you're looking at a compass. This is honestly a really cool setting. I haven't seen any other car out there. And this is kind of part of Lamborghini's marketing to try to show that, hey, this car isn't just for the street. It isn't just for the racetrack. You can also take it off-roading. Now, in terms of other stuff on the infotainment, you have your radio, your media, your Bluetooth connection. You also have a map, but I assume most people are probably just going to use the Apple CarPlay. But if you don't use Apple CarPlay, the map is there if you need it. Now, another interesting feature about this interior is the fact that this has the Bang & Olufsen sound system. Now this is the most expensive highest end sound system. There's two other sound systems that you can get as well, but I'd highly recommend getting the Bang & Olufsen because it is so good. It sounds amazing. And what's also really cool is that you get these little speakers that pop up every time that you turn the car on the front dash. It just makes you feel like you're in a Rolls Royce even though you're sitting in a Lamborghini. Now moving on to the actual steering wheel area, it is so sporty and it's so Lamborghini. You have the steering wheel which kind of has this hexagonal shape, not just in the actual outside of the steering, but also in the horn area. It's very sharp and hexagonal. On the bottom, you get this flat bottom like you would see in most supercars. And then the paddle shifters, once again, are super sharp and edgy, but I believe they're aluminum. You can feel they're not plastic. They feel really nice in your fingers. They also have a very, very satisfying clicking noise. Now going on to the actual gauge cluster area, I will say that it doesn't have a whole lot going on. It's just kind of one big digital screen, but I will say it does look cool. And as you change to drive modes, the gauge cluster actually kind of changes fonts and settings. It looks cool. There isn't a lot of configurability, so it's not like in a Porsche how you can kind of scroll through and do different stuff. I haven't really found anything on the gauge cluster that you can customize as much as you can in some other cars, but I do think it looks really cool, and it definitely does feel very Lamborghini. Also, in this armrest right here, if you lift it up, you get a wireless charging pad with a little bit of extra space on the side of it, and you also get two USB-C outlets. Now, if you're wondering where the key is supposed to go, if you look behind the parking brake, you actually see there's this little kind of pit that goes pretty deep in the car, but it fits the key perfectly. You drop the key right in, it doesn't scratch it, it has a nice kind of soft coating to it, so you don't have to worry about your key getting scratched, and this fits right in and you don't have to worry about it. Now moving on to the back seats here, because once again this is an SUV, so back seat space and legroom and all that kind of stuff is just as important as the front seats are. But I can tell you there is a lot of room in here. It honestly feels just as spacious as a Cayenne, if not more spacious. You can see I have a bunch of legroom right here. This seat is in the normal driver's position. The seats are super comfortable. You get that sporty look in the seats just like you get in the front. Now in the middle right here, you get this little armrest that kind of pulls down, just like you get in most of, you know, the kind of Porsche, Audi, Volkswagen group. But you also get these cup holders that pop out when you press this button, which is nice to have. Now in terms of the AC, you get this little touchscreen area right here that works on both sides of the seats. You can change the temperature, you can also change the pressure, you can turn it on and off, and underneath it, you get 2 USB-C outlets and you get a 12-volt smoking outlet. All right, so now we are driving the Urus. I'm gonna take it for a lap around this block a couple times. This car, I'm just gonna start it in manual and Corsa, because it's a Lamborghini. I understand it's an SUV, but you have to drive a Lamborghini in sport mode. You gotta drive it in the more aggressive mode. That's the most fun, so. Off the bat, it has that really nice V8 grunt to it. It's super deep, but it has a little bit of kind of video gamey noise on the inside. I don't know if noise is being piped in or if that's just really how the engine sounds. It sounds good, don't get me wrong. Oh my gosh, that is fast. Wow. That is, it kind of has some turbo lag, but once it gets going, those turbos spool up. It is very, very fast. Gear shifts are great. Obviously the paddle shifters, like I said earlier, have a nice click feel to them. Really, really smooth ride. I'm in Corsa, but it's not harsh at all. I'm probably kind of used to my sports cars like the 911 GTS and the Toyota Supra, so I might be a little bit biased, but really, like, it's genuinely a comfortable ride. This car is just so fast, and for an SUV, like, you don't think it's gonna be that quick, but for like almost 5,000 pound vehicle, it really, really moves. You know, this car is just really awesome. Now I know Ferrari came out with the Purosangue, and the Purosangue is an amazing car. I haven't driven that yet, obviously, and I hope I will one day. But, you know, I'm curious to see how this compares to it. But man, this is such a good car. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's just RSQ8, you know, like, why not just get an Audi RSQ8? But honestly, like, this is really special. It's not that RSQ8 is not cool, it's an amazing car, but this just feels so emotional, and it's just so fun to drive, and just sitting in it is such an event, where I think in the Audi, you might not feel like it's as much of an event if you sit in it. Now, I'm actually going to do a little launch control right here, make sure there's no cars behind me. I don't know how to launch. I think you just go automatic. Yep, automatic mode. All right, I'm in Corsa. I think I just floor it from here. Let's see. Yep, launch control possible. Already at 60. So launch control is very easy, and you guys can hear the pops back there. This car has some really, really loud pops. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, launch control honestly is just as simple as doing it in like a 911 or something. It's literally just Corsa, stop, foot on the brake, gas pedal at the same time, and then the launch control lights up, and it literally just takes off. Now I'm gonna turn right here, get some handling. How does the handling feel? I mean, obviously it is a SUV, so the handling's not going to be like perfect, but what I will say though is that the car, for an SUV, it really does well. And I don't think I mentioned earlier in this video, but this car does have the 4-wheel steering. It's got, you know, all the bits and pieces that Lamborghini's tuned on it. It really does dance around the corners, I will say, for being almost 5,000 pounds. It genuinely feels good. And this guy turned in front of me. That's why you guys always gotta be careful, even if you're on an open road, it doesn't seem like there's people around. But yeah, I mean, this car, honestly, it literally can do everything. It's fun, it is loud, it's crazy, it's really everything that you could possibly want in a car. I'm gonna test the 4-wheel steering right here. Very tight turn radius. You can see I turn right into the middle lane, almost in the left lane. Turn radius is pretty good. Man, those pops are really nice to have. Like I said, this does have the louder racing exhaust, but it really does sound great. I'm gonna hop back in the manual mode now. Go down this road and just kind of cruise a little bit. Man, that V8 is so intoxicating. Now, I know I have the Range Rover Sport, which has a pretty great sounding V8, but man, this sounds really good, especially for being turbocharged. It really screams at the top end. It kind of changes note as you get the higher RPMs, and then when you let off the gas, it has that nice burble, or even on the downshifts right here. You can hear that. This sounds really, really nice. This is by far the coolest SUV I've ever been in. It's got everything, practicality. You can take it off-roading. You can take it on the racetrack. The brakes are amazing, by the way. I forgot to mention that the brakes are phenomenal. You obviously have massive, you know, calipers and rotor, so it makes sense, but honestly, this car just feels so sporty, so cool, so amazing. There's a reason why it's expensive. So part of the price is kind of you getting what you're paying for, but honestly, this is just such an amazing car, and I would highly recommend to get it. So that wraps it up for the review today, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Urus S. Do you prefer the Urus S or the Urus SC that's coming out soon for 2025? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.